Yendra? Good evening. ಇದು ಅಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿರಿ ಅವ್ರ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಕೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಿ ಸರ್ದು ವಾಯ್ಸು. ಹಾಂ ಸರ್. Good evening. Am I audible? Okay. Good evening to you all. Respected Dr. Arvind Kulkarni, Dr. V.T. Nayak, and all the organizers of Abhinay Bharati. Good evening to you all. First of all, I thank Dr. Arvind Kulkarni for giving me yet another opportunity to participate in this program and deliver a talk on the plays of Dara Bendre, Dattatreya Ramachandra Bendre. I'm very happy that I'm going to talk on the plays of Dara Bendre. I'm going to speak on Bendre in English for the first time. D.R. Bendre, Dara Bendre, we call him Dara Bendre in Kannada. D.R. Bendre, Dr. Bendre, is a major Kannada poet. He is mainly known for his lyrics. Bendre is rightly called a musician and also a magician. He plays with words and with music and tone of words. In Kannada, we call him Shabda Garudiga. He knows how to play with words. And words begin to dance at his direction. In other words, Bendre knows how to use words effectively in his poetry. He is our major poet, a very great poet, a very genuine poet. Bendre sings songs of Samarasya. Samarasya means union, a happy union. He doesn't believe in fighting. Bendre doesn't believe in fighting. He doesn't believe in Virasa. He believes in Samarasa. Samarasave Jivana. Okay. That unity matters. This is one problem with mobile. When we receive call, everybody gets disturbed. I'm sorry. Okay. So I was talking about Dara Bendre and about his Loka Drishti, his vision of life. That he believes in Samarasya. He doesn't believe in fighting. He doesn't believe in Virasa. He believes in Samarasa. Samarasave Jivana. A happy union. And he also believes in union and reunion. He has given a beautiful, magical, musical, mystical, spiritual, and mundane world in his poetry. That's the beauty of his poetry. Name anything you find in his poetry. A wonderful poet, a genuine poet, marvelous poet, major modern Kannada poet. The Kannada critics have responded to his poetry, or epoch-making critics like Kirtinath Kurtkoti, G.S. Amore, and Girati Govindraj, D.R. Nagraj, Kiram Nagraj, and all of them have very positively, powerfully responded to his poetry, but they haven't paid enough attention to his plays. This is not the limitation of Bendre's plays or dramas. Nor is it limitation of Kannada poets. Somehow they have ignored this very important dimension of Bendre's creative genius. Today, I'll be talking about this very distinct, spatial genius of Bendre. Bendre, in his plays, has given a different world altogether. The world that you find in his poetry and the world that you come across in his plays are two different worlds. And Bendre, whether in his poetry or in his plays, appears to be a lover. Appears to be a lover of nature, and he had enormous love for zeal for life. Jiva para kavi. He was all for life, and he loved everything that life could offer. That life could afford to give him. He loved everything, and he found meaning in the greatest things and also in the silliest things that you can see in life. That's the beauty of his literature. Now, let me give you the list of his plays. Bendre wrote his first play, Gol, in 1920, and he continued to write his plays till almost his death in 1980s. So for 60 years, he wrote his plays. Bendre wrote his plays. I don't know why the Kannada critics have not discovered this genius in Bendre. They have rather ignored his plays. And he has written 14 plays. 14 is not a small number. Although the lot of plays he has written are one-actors. They are one-actors, and only a couple of plays are big plays. And not a single play penned by Bendre is a full-length play. They're all one-actors, and they're all short plays and small plays, you can call them. And his plays don't deal with very, very serious themes. Serious themes. He doesn't deal with destiny or fate or fight between demons and devas and suras and asuras, and you don't find such things in his plays. He was not interested in legends, nor was he interested in history, nor was he interested in folklore. He was interested in the life that he could see around him. In other words, Bendre, was interested in his society. He was interested in his contemporary socio-political issues, and he tried to catch what we call social realism in his plays. You find a different genius in his plays. As a poet, he was, he handled historical, mythological, and folk themes and motifs in his poetry. But in his plays, he talks about very, very, very ordinary things and things which have social significance and importance. And some of his plays, of course, have been translated into Marathi and Hindi languages. I don't think that any of his plays have been translated into English. I feel like translating plays like Uddhara, Jatre, and Hosa Samsara, Sayo Ata. They are very important plays by Bendre, Dara Bendre. So Gol was the first play to have been written by Bendre. It appeared in 1920s, followed by Sayo Ata, Jatre, Hale Ganeyaru. So Sayo Ata, Jatre, Hale Ganeyaru, he calls them mad plays. I'll be talking about it later. ಮಂದಿ ಮದುವೆ ಮಂದಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಉದ್ಧಾರ ಹೊಸ ಸಂಸಾರ ದೆವ್ವದ ಮನೆ ನಗೆಯ ಹೊಗೆ ತಿರುಕರ ಪಿಡುಗು ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಅಡಿಗೆ ಮನೆ ಹೊಕ್ಕರೆ ಲೈಕ್ are among his very well known plays. I'll be talking about only three plays today, three or four plays. Maybe Gol, Uddhara. Uddhara is an interesting play, very serious play, and Sayo Ata and Jatre. They are you can call them farces. Okay. Bendre, as I said in the beginning, was interested in his in the society he was living in, and his major concern was a healthy society. So, in his plays, Bendre tried to advocate the importance of happy family, and he wanted to, as a playwright, as an artist, he aimed at creating a very healthy society. And healthy society, Bendre says, is possible only when you have happy houses, because houses makes villages or cities or towns and state and nation. So if people are happy, then society will be happy. So he talks about happy houses. As I said, he doesn't believe in fighting. And as a playwright, he was interested in social realism, and he succeeded to a very large extent in catching the social realities of his time. And in a subtle way, in a very subtle way, he talks about politics, and he talks about power politics, and he also talks about the issue of untouchability in a place like Uddhara. He talks about the stupidity of politics in a place like Jatre. I'll be commenting on, and also Sayo Ata. Okay, so we need to understand why Bendre didn't show a lot of interest in historical, mythological, and folk plays, and why he was so much interested in social plays, and why he didn't write tragedies as his contemporaries wrote. Serious plays, I mean, as his contemporaries wrote. His contemporaries like Sriranga, Kailasam, and others, they wrote traditional plays, well-made plays, full-length plays, and of course they also wrote social realistic plays. This is background to my talk on Bendre. And Gol is the first play. I will be talking about this play for 3 to 4 minutes. So Gol gives us a realistic picture of what the youth of this state felt and experienced in the second decade of 20th century. And he made his beginning with Gol, and Gol talks about the youth of his time, 1920s. What were their mindset? What was their major concern? What they wanted to do? What their dreams were? So the play gives insights into the rationalism of his contemporary society. He talks about rationalism of his time and what rationality really means. And the play upholds the friendship which Bendre held very close to his heart. The play is all about friendship, and Bendre was known for friendship. We also say that Bendre was very quarrelsome, but at the same time he had a lot of respect for friendship, and his Sakhi Gita, which is his classic, it's a long poem, long narrative poem. Sakhi Gita also talks about it talks more about the friendship than about the relationship between wife and husband and wife. He calls wife Sakhi. So, he doesn't treat his wife as a typical wife, and he treats her rather his friend. So, Sakhi Gita is about the friendship, and Bendre had a lot of commitment to friendship in his life, and we all know how Bendre valued the friendship of Madhur Channa. Madhur Channa is one of the greatest Kannada metaphysical poets of 20th century. Bendre and Madhur Channa were great friends till the end. He wrote 3 poems about on Madhur Channa, and he attended the cremation of Madhur Channa. He died in some place in Indi Taluk of Bijapur district, and his wife didn't allow the people to bury her husband till Bendre arrived. So, and it also Bendre started what we call Gedayara Gumpu, the circle of friends. It's an association. It's a forum, an organization of friends. And he collected all his friends and started new movement in Kannada literature, modern Kannada literature. So Bendre is one of the finest poets, and we just can't think of modern Kannada literature without naming Bendre and Kuempu. And modern Kannada literature can never forget this unique relationship, friendship between Bendre, Dara Bendre and Madhur Channa. And the play Goal also talks about such friendship. And Uddhara is his major play, first major play, Uddhara. It talks about reformation. Let me see how best I can discuss this play today. But every theatre goer must read Bendre's Uddhara, Jatre and Sayo Ata. It is his major play. Uddhara is a major play by Dara Bendre. It's also his major social realistic play. It's a major social realistic play because he deals with the theme of untouchability in this play. You find a different Bendre in this play. You cannot imagine a man like Bendre, a person like Bendre, talking about untouchability. He was very clear, candid in his presentation and in his dealing with the theme of untouchability, which was a major problem then and which is also a major problem even today. And things have changed. And when you read a play like Uddhara, and you will have to judge this play in the present contemporary socio-political economic situation. And Uddhara is not just a social realistic play. It's not a play about the untouchables, and it's a very complex play, very complex. As complex as, in some sense, Carnot's Tughlaq. And its complexity cannot be reduced to an attempt to eradicate untouchability. If you say that Uddhara is about an attempt to eradicate untouchability, no, that's not good. That's not a right judgment, because it does more than that. And the symbolism of this play is also very, very complex. I'll be talking about the symbolism of this play. And the nature of tragedy which we witness at the end of the play adds to the complexity of the play. 3 deaths take place at the end of the play. Okay, the whole situation is very complex. Any issue in an Indian context, any issue concerning untouchable and will have a lot of complexity. It is very sensitive and it's very complex at the same time. And when you read the play, certain questions, even after you close the play, certain questions will keep haunting you. Questions like, what does the snake bite at the end of the play at the temple indicate? What does it indicate? Is also one of the questions which will haunt you. And why Durgappa? Durgappa is also a major character in the play. Why does he die of a snake bite when he tries to enter the temple? And snake bites him and he dies on the spot. Why should he die? I don't try to give an answer to this question. I leave it to you. You read the play and understand why should Bendre make Durgappa die of snake bite at the end of the play when he entered into the sanctum and sanctorium of the temple. And Rudraya and Vigneshwara Bhatt are the two characters who add complexity to the whole play. So the play presents three. How to eradicate untouchability is a big question. Okay, and all the reformers have tried in their own ways to eradicate the caste system. In modern times, Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi also tried to eradicate untouchability in their own ways. I don't want to deal with this issue, which takes a lot of time, and there will be a lot of debate. So there are three measures for the eradication of untouchability in this play, and the first one is tradition, the slogan of tradition, or in the name of tradition. Siddhappa is a character in this play who advocates this way. He takes this measure. And there is Arbanna who thinks that the problem of untouchability can be effectively tackled through the path of church and masjid. It can be eradicated, and then if you this can be eradicated if they are allowed to enter into the temple. And the third one is reformation, that is Uddhara, which gave the title to the play. And it is through reformation that untouchability can be eradicated. There is Durgappa is an exponent of this this measure, and he spearheads it in the play. He thinks that the problem of untouchability can be effectively handled, can be eliminated or eradicated through reformation. So untouchables in this play, Uddhara, have they have already breathed an open air, and they are fairly educated, and they know what is what, and they have formed an association, yeah? And they need a temple for their God. They need a temple for their God. They have some awareness. They are educated to a certain extent, and they want a temple for their God. And they request the government to give them some space to build a temple for their God, and the government is willing. But when the government comes to know that the space that they are demanding is very close to the temple of Basveshwara, government does not dare. Government doesn't dare. So government denies space to the untouchables to build a temple for their God, because that space is on the way to Basveshwara temple, very close to Basveshwara temple. So what happens at this time? There is one more temple, Bhaireshwara Bhaireshwara statue, and this statue is broken, and lots of statues in the town they get broken, and this is, we all know who does this. If the miscreants and the people who create anarchy in the society, they do it. Just damage a statue, belonging to some certain sections, and next day there will be bloodshed. This is a very strange country. This is a very, very strange country. Internal problems are more terrific and dangerous than the external problems. The Indian Army, Indian police struggle with the internal, destructive forces than the external ones. Then there is Kodandaraya, and he wants to hand over this temple to untouchables. Because nobody is using, and it is already damaged, and it's already broken, and you can hand over to the Dalits so that they can keep their God in it. But there is Rudraya and Vigneshwara Bhatta. One is Lingayat and the other is Brahmin. And these two characters oppose Kodandaraya's decision to hand over the temple, the broken temple, to untouchables. Rudraya and Vigneshwara Bhatta, and also Ahobalacharya, this trinity, they come together and oppose this. And Siddhappa is an untouchable, who is untouchable. He doesn't like the suggestion of Kodandaraya. And Siddhappa thinks that you cannot solve the problem of Dalits by providing a broken temple to their god, because he believes in the other kind of transformation. And Durgappa presents Dalits and persuades Dalits, and they acquire the temple. Durgappa comes into picture, and he plays his own role, and he persuades the untouchables, and they get the temple. And in their attempt to protect the temple, Rudraya and Vigneshwara get killed. There is confusion, and a lot of people have gathered at the temple to see what was going on, and in the process these two people are crushed and they die. And Durgappa, who dares enter the temple, who enters into the temple, dies of snake bite at the end of the play. So this is the plot of the play, and then the plot is also very complex, and there are certain questions which haunt you as you watch the play, as you read the play. Look at the symbolism of the play. So the followers of Basavanna, opposing the construction of a temple for Dalits or untouchables on the way to Basaveshwara temple, is highly symbolic. It suggests that it suggests not only the Dalits or the untouchables who need to be reformed, but also the upper castes like Lingayats and Brahmins who also need to be corrected. And Kodandaraya is a guide to untouchables, and when he finds a scorpion in a law book, he makes an interesting comment with which I close discussion on this play. This is a scorpion from our dustbin. It will not bite us. This is how we break the tail of the people who try to bite us. Now, when he finds a scorpion in a law book, looking at the scorpion, he tells people around him, "See, this is a scorpion. It has very poisonous tail with which it bites. And what we should do? We should cut the tail of poisonous scorpions who try to bite us." It has a lot of symbolic value. Means we know, we are educated, and we know how to break the tail of the people who try to bite us and trouble us. So, as I said, this is a major play. It's a big play by Bendre, and it talks about a different kind of socialism. And Sayo Ata, you can hear Sayo Ata. It's a game of death you can say, or game of tragedy. It's not a game of death, it's a game of tragedy. Sayo Ata. Look at what Bendre, says about this play. Please read what I have written here very slowly. Learn wisdom. This is my prayer. In his preface to this play, in his short preface to this play, Bendre, tells the readers to read the play very slowly and learn wisdom. What you find in the play is wisdom, and he wants the readers to learn wisdom from his play. He says, what we read in newspapers, Bendre was saying this in 1930s, almost 70, 90 years ago. What he said 90 years ago, is still very, very relevant to us today. Okay, so what we read in newspapers is the game of tragedy, game of death. It's the game of death of socialism, the death of administration, and the game of the death of the irresponsible people. This is what he writes in his introduction. And he says, you shall have to bring out the madness from you and learn to laugh at it. This is what Bendre did. So there was a very conscious playwright in Bendre. I'm saying, there was a very conscious, alert, playwright in Bendre. So he says, you will have to bring out the madness from you and laugh at it. When you can laugh at your own madness, you learn things better. The well-being of society lies in it. The problem is we laugh at others. We laugh at others, there are problems in society. Bendre says, if you laugh at yourself, if you laugh at your madness, your foolishness, your stupidity, your cunningness, your cruelty, and so on, you correct yourself. And when you correct yourself, the society in which you are living automatically gets corrected. So this is the way towards enlightenment. This is the way towards enlightenment. Just reform yourself. And Bendre calls these three plays, Sayo Ata, Jatre, and Hale Ganeyaru, mad plays. Mad plays. Puchatagalu. They are mad plays. Not plays about mad persons. No, they are mad plays. But K.D. Kurtkoti, Keerthanath Kurtkoti, who was my teacher, calls them absurd plays. But Keerthanath Kurtkoti, in his essay, makes it very clear. He warns the readers not to forget the subtle difference between the absurdity of the Western playwrights like Beckett and Kannada writers like Dara Bendre. There is some element of absurdity in his plays, but the nature of absurdity that you find in Bendre is something different from the kind of absurdity that we find in Beckett's Waiting for Godot and other plays. So this madness is due to trespassing the system and its norms. What happens in this play is, I just take 2 minutes to explain this. A thief goes to a house to steal and is killed when the wall of the house is collapsed. Then the wife of the thief, called Kalla, Kalla means thief, Kalli means, and also thief, lady. And the wife of the thief, Kalli, goes to the king and demands justice. My husband is killed in his attempt to break the wall of a house to steal. But he is killed before he stole. So the king should give the justice. Now, who is responsible? The king begins to think. Who is the responsible for the death of the thief? Number one, the owner of the house, because Why should he build such a weak wall? When a thief tries to break it, why should it fall down? So he should be punished. It's all about smartness. Second, no. Why should he be punished? The builder who built the house should be punished. He should be penalized. Then there comes a prostitute. She should be penalized. And there is a saint, and he should be punished. Then who should be hanged? The debate was going on. Then they remember, an oracle, some kind of oracle. There is an oracle that in the graveyard treaded by the saint, he who dies first will become the king of the surrounding places in his next life, and he who dies second will become a minister. The king learns that this is the place, the graveyard in which the saint has walked. If the person who dies first will become the king in his next life, and the person who dies next will become only a minister in his next life. Then the king and his diwan, his minister, they both fight each other to die, because both of them want to die first. So the mad king and the equally mad minister, who is called the diwan, are ready to die, and the play revolves around the grave madness of such people. And people have not lost interest in this play even today, because there is no dearth of mad people in our society. Jatre will be the last play that I'll be talking about today. Is one of the very, very popular plays by the Rabindra. This play has been performed several times after over the last 7 to 8 decades, and it's a farce. And it is a satire too, and it parodies the madness of a king. Like Sayo-Ata, Jatre also makes fun of the king who has no brain at all, a mad king, the king of Huchapura. Huchapura means it's a town of mad people. A town of mad people, and he is the king. He is the king of the town of mad people. Huchapura Dore, king, and it is a mirror held up to the cruelty of a king. The play has a lot of contemporary values and significance. So the king wants to somehow conduct a fair in his town. Jatre, Jatre has to happen. He has reasons why he wants Jatre to happen, a fair to take place. If fair takes place, then people come from all over the places, and there will be some business, and he will get money. Meanwhile, the town is attacked by plague. Plague, and people die of plague, and the king doesn't recognize this. He knows that people die of plague, but he doesn't recognize this. And he says, there is no plague. He calls his minister and tells him, there is no plague. Tell people, declare. You call the announcer and ask him to declare to the people that there is no plague in our village, in our town, and people are dying, but they don't die of plague. And Jatre has to take place. His minister tries to speak sense to him, and the doctor tries to speak sense to him. He doesn't listen. On the contrary, he makes them understand that there is no plague in the town. And all of them know that there is plague, but because of the pressure of the king, they also begin to dance to his tune. So they all declare that there is no plague, and people keep dying. And at the end of the play, he gets some, the king experiences some symptoms, and all of a sudden he feels that he thinks that he's suffering from fever. He calls the doctor and asks him, what are the symptoms of plague? What will happen when you are attacked by plague? He says that when plague comes, when you are attacked by plague, then you will have fever, and there will be, some swelling. Then last thing, you die. He says, yes, I have fever. And he says, no, sir, you don't have fever because you have said that there is no plague here. Then he says, no, I can experience some swelling, some gut swelling. I can see. No, sir, you don't have it. Then at the end, he calls doctor and tells him, no, I have plague and you should understand. Yes, sir, you have plague, and the plague comes to an end. So this has enormous contemporary value. You can, if you just if the word plague is replaced with corona, it makes sense. You replace the word plague with corona, it makes sense. Look at the reaction of the king to plague. The reaction of the king to plague was inhuman. He says there is no plague, and there is no plague in the town. People are dying of plague, and he says no plague. And look at the reaction of today's government to corona, and thanks to government of India and most state governments, they all declared, yes, there is corona. We don't have mad kings today. Okay, we must thank the government of India for very sharply and reacting to corona, this lockdown. The king in Jatre didn't declare lockdown. He said, let Jatre takes place. Here, yes, lockdown. And this lockdown saved the nation. And also, the play talks about vaccination. For plague, you take a vaccination. And here also, we talk about vaccination. And look at the irresponsible attitude of the opposition parties in the country. No, why lockdown? They asked. Why lockdown? People are dying in number, and you are saying why lockdown? And vaccination, no, it's not good, and and one should not take vaccination, and one dies. But when they come to know that they have to take vaccination, and the people who opposed vaccination were the first in the queue to take vaccination. Look at the king. The king says, "Give me some vaccination in the play." So, the reaction of certain politicians to vaccination is no less a madness than the king's reaction to vaccination in the play. So, for all the plays of the Bendre, Jatre has enormous contemporary value and significance, and you can very profitably read this play in the context of Corona. So you understand Corona, the politics of Corona better if you read the play. As I said earlier on, that the decision to impose a lockdown saved the nation. This is a very important play, and as I said, it has a lot of contemporary value and significance. Having said this, I must say that Bendre, I don't say that Bendre is a major Kannada playwright. He's a major Kannada poet. He is not a major Kannada playwright, but he is not a playwright whom you can ignore. He's a very good playwright, and I don't know why Bendre ignored the playwright in him, the dramatist in him, and he had dramatic genius, and he had the dramatic talent to write tragedies, very, very big plays and very great plays he could have written. He could have also written historical and legendary plays, and he didn't do that. Let us not talk about what Bendre could not do. Let us think about what Bendre has done and has left behind. He has left behind 14 plays. Interestingly, Kuvempu also has written 14 plays. But the criticism that Kuvempu's play have received, Bendre's plays have unfortunately not received, and the critics have ignored and also the theater directors also have not given enough attention to Bendre, and they must stage his plays like Sayota and Uddhara and Sayota, Uddhara and Jatre. And Bendre was very clear about his vision and mission. He was very clear about his commitment and his concern. He was interested in his society, and the writers of his time, what the writers of his time could not do, he did it in his plays, and he wrote about the society. He discussed social issues, political issues. He was good at it, and he was interested in social realism. He was interested in politics and all that, and in a very subtle way, he talked about contemporary, power politics in his place like Jatre and Sayota. So um, uh, uh, I'm sure that the Kannada critics and the theatre goers and the playwrights and the directors, will pay a lot of attention to his plays and talk about his plays and write about his plays and stage his plays. With this, I close my talk. Thank you so much. Good night. Namaskar.